Last week we spoke about how to make cords this thin that you can use, for example, to close bags like this. And today we're going to talk about making thicker ropes, the ones you use, for example, as handles for bags in wet felting. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions today concerning this type of cord. For example, what if my wool top is not thick enough? How do I get rid of the grooves that form on the surface of the handle? How much do the handles shrink in length when we felt them? And how not to get the ends of the wool top wet when you're felting the handles and preparing them to add to the bag. So if this is something you've always wanted to learn, make sure you stay till the end. Okay, so let's say I want to make a handle for a bag and I have this piece of wool. So to check how thick this will become, I twist my wool as we've seen last week, and I conclude that it's just not enough, that I want thicker handles than this. So the question is, how do I solve that? Well, actually, it's very simple. I take another piece of wool, exactly like this one, the same length. I give both a little shake so that they become nice and soft and open. And I open these up a little bit. Now you can either place them side by side or on top of each other. I prefer putting them on top of each other like this. Open these up nicely. And then I start rolling from one side. Make sure that this bit is nice and fine so that it can wrap around the rest of the fiber like this. And now we're going to do what we've done last week. We're going to put some water and soap on our mats and start rolling slowly. Don't add too much water at the beginning so that this doesn't become flat. You want to start working like this so that it creates a nice skin on the surface before anything else happens. And you're going to go on rolling. Remember to keep your ends as dry as possible, because these are going to connect to the bag or to whatever you want to connect them to. And if you have any sort of trouble keeping these dry, what you can do is grab some plastic and some rubber bands and put some plastic on the ends with some rubber bands to keep this bit of wool dry. Now what I want to start doing is I want to add more soap than water, because I want to make sure that my fiber is attaching and creating a nice skin on the surface. Now at this point, what you can do is use a sushi mat, as we did in the last video, like this. And before we go on, I want to measure the length of my fiber. So I've got about 52 centimeters. So if you can remember what we did last week, I placed my wool and then used the sushi mat to roll like this. That's what I'm going to do today as well. The principles are basically the same. It's just that we're working with a little bit more wool, so the risk of getting these ugly wrinkles on the surface is slightly bigger. Okay, so this definitely needs more water. And definitely more soap as well. It's the soap that creates the glue that makes the surface nice and smooth. Okay, let's go back to this one. I like to mix both. Okay, now I can now add the water directly to the wool because we don't have that risk of getting the wool flat anymore. Now what you really want is loads of soap. Okay, so again, in this phase it's important to have enough water and enough soap in the fiber. Otherwise, notice what happens over here where I don't have a lot of water. This needs to become one, okay? So it needs to have enough liquid and enough soap to create a kind of a glue. This is the trick. Now all you have to do is roll and squeeze and go on like this. Make sure you make enough pressure now. So now I have a pre-felt here, and since I've only been rolling, nothing else, so now I want to also do some kneading, because this will allow the wool to felt deep within the cord, because we've only been felting on the surface actually. So I want this to felt deep within the cord as well. And I like to knead to get this. And I'll go on rubbing, and I'll alternate between rubbing and kneading. One thing I haven't mentioned is that I've been working with room temperature water, which is what I always do. I only use hot water at the end of the process, which would be now. So I've been felting it up to now, and I want to give it, let's say, a last squeeze. So I've got hot water here, and I'm going to put my felt into the hot water, and I'm going to give my felt the last rub and the last squeeze with hot water just to finish it off. So Here you are. I'm going to rinse it in just a minute. And it's finished, as you can see. And there are no wrinkles, nothing. The only thing is you can slightly see where the connection is, where the wool ended. So it ended here and you can see it slightly. But it's not a wrinkle, it's not a groove. It's perfectly flat, as you can see. I'm just going to rinse this and I'm going to show it to you in a minute, and we're going to measure it to see how much it shrank as well. Okay, I've rinsed it and I've removed the bits of plastic. So as you can see, the ends are a bit wet, but they aren't felted, and that's the important thing, because when this is dry again, I will just open up these fibers, and then I'll be able to apply this area on the surface of whatever bag I want to attach this to. Okay, so this is completely felted, it's malleable, as you can see, and there are no wrinkles on the surface, as we've seen already. And now what I want to do is I want to measure this. If you can remember, we started with 52 centimeters. So let's see what we have here. We've got 34, okay? So this is how much this shrank. As you can see, it shrank quite a lot. Okay. We've been looking at how to felt cords, whether it's this thin version or this thicker one that we normally use for bag handles. I hope I was able to answer your questions. If there's still something you'd like to know about how to felt cords, please leave your questions in the comments below. And if you're relatively new to wet felting and aren't sure which is the next step in your felting journey, I've created a guide for you to download. You'll find the link for that guide under this video. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.